What's up, brand builders? Stephen Horahan here at BrandMasterAcademy.com, and in this video you're going to learn how to build a heritage brand using story. So you can tap into the emotion of nostalgia and earn trust through the association of tradition. Now, if you're new to the channel and you want to build brands that go beyond the visuals and the logo using strategy, psychology, and creative thinking, then you're in the right place. Hit that subscribe button and the notification bell. If you want to fast track your results, make sure you grab the Pro Brand Strategy Blueprint. It's a free download and the link is in the description. Now, I created a video recently on what heritage branding is. If you haven't seen that yet, check it out. I'll leave a link in the description below. But heritage branding is a very effective brand strategy that allows a brand to tap into emotion and gives their audience a compelling reason to choose their brand when compared to their competitors. So why is heritage branding so effective? Well, there are a couple of reasons for that. The first one is story. Now, as people, it's in our DNA to be attracted to story. We're drawn towards story because for millions of years, that has been the sole way that people have passed down information from generation to generation. So that's ingrained within our DNA. We're attracted to story. And the other reason is nostalgia. Now, nostalgia is this sentimental attachment to a period in the past, and that brings up a lot of these deep-seated emotions. And nostalgia is very, very potent. It's very, very effective. And when story and nostalgia are combined together, that makes for a potent combination. So drawing out your customers and appealing to who your customer is through story and through nostalgia is a very, very effective way to gain an edge over your competitors and really appeal to who they are and resonate with their emotions. But isn't heritage branding for old brands? Well, it's true. When you think of heritage or you think of heritage branding, you think of institutions that have 100+ years behind them, brands such as Mercedes-Benz or Hermes or Berkshire Hathaway. These brands have a lot of history and a lot of tradition behind them. But there's more than one way to leverage the brand heritage strategy, and story is one of the most effective ways to do that. So how do you use story to build brand heritage? Well, every successful brand in the world has been built on trust. They've earned that trust over years of interacting with their customers and producing high quality goods or services. And when it comes to heritage brands, yes, they do have a leg up over younger brands. Brands with 100 years of history behind them have an added advantage over younger brands. But if, as a younger brand, you're able to tell a compelling story that aligns itself with a sense of tradition, then you can tap into that nostalgia and you can earn trust for your brand. But how do you create a story as a younger brand? You can't just create tradition that isn't there. You can't create 100 years that isn't there. How do you go about creating a story for a young brand? Well, it's all about the origin. It's all about the origin of the brand, where the brand has come from and where it's going to, why the brand was created in the first place, and what led the founders to that place, to that decision of creating that brand. This is called the origin story. And if you're able to really open up the origin story and reverse engineer that story back to a time when the idea came about, or a sense of tradition or a process in the past that led to that origin story, that's when you can open up the world to heritage. That's when you can open up the world to this sense of tradition. And if you tell your story in a compelling way, you can really draw your customers in. So I'm going to give you a process that you can follow to create a compelling origin story for your brand. Step number one, document your journey. Now, although your brand might not have 100 years behind it, it most certainly does have an origin. That was the point in time when your brand was created for the very first time. Now, the reason that brand was created is a story in and of itself. Why was that brand created? What happened in the past that led to the idea of that brand being created, and what challenges lay in front of the founder as the brand was being created? These are all a little series of events that are a story in and of itself. Now, if you're able to detail and document the origin story from the very beginning, from the initial challenges that the founder came across and the idea that came from those challenges to create that brand, and then open those up into vivid detail, you have the foundations of a compelling story. Step number 2, elaboration, not fabrication. So you're creating this story, but it needs to be steeped in truth. You can't just go creating a story or writing a fictional story. It has to be steeped in truth, but you can take every single element of that story and elaborate on that. Go into vivid detail. Bring in the senses, bring in the smells, the taste, the touch, the sound, and more importantly, the emotion. What kind of emotions were going through the founder as the challenges came across, as the wins came across? So really open up the detail of the story through elaboration, but make sure that it's steeped in authenticity and truth. Step number 3, humanize the story. So as I mentioned before, as people, we love a good story. We're drawn towards it. It's in our DNA. But when those stories are about people that we feel aligned with, or when those stories are about people and specific challenges they've gone through and wins they've had and objectives that they've reached or accomplishments that they've achieved, it really taps in to our ability to resonate with that journey and really feel the sense of the journey from the beginning to the end, and it really draws us in. So if that story is about people and what they've gone through, especially if it's people within the business who have had a very strong hand in building that brand, then we can feel a sense of connection to that person and to that brand. So humanize the story and make it about the people. Step number 4, extract the aligned narrative. Now, brands don't tell stories for a sense of entertainment. We're not here to entertain our audience necessarily. If we're able to do that through a compelling story, then great. But there is a point to telling stories, and that point is to align with our audience, to really develop that sense of connection and give them a window inside the brand so that they can feel that connection. Ultimately, storytelling is all about connection. So we need to understand exactly who the audience is and the journey that they're on and what it is that they want to accomplish and they want to achieve and the challenges that they're going through, and then do our best to align our story with their story. If they see themselves in our story, if they see themselves in our brand story, then they will be drawn into it and they'll feel connected to it. And step number 5, evoke nostalgia through association. Now, nostalgia is all about this sentimental attachment to the past. Now, for this to work, you really need to understand your audience. So you need to have completed step 4 to understand the journey they're on, what they want to achieve, and the challenges that they're going through, and then to align our story with their story. And once we've done that, it's all about pulling out the detail and using that to tap into nostalgia, using that to tap into a sense of tradition or associations or aligned struggles that they have gone through that we have also gone through as well. When we're able to do that, when we're able to align those emotions and we're able to draw those emotions out through nostalgia, it's a very, very potent and effective strategy. So really take the time to draw out that nostalgia through the detail of the story and associations with the past. Now, as I mentioned before, when we think of heritage branding, we tend to think of the old days, like the sound of horseshoes on cobblestones, or somebody writing with a quill and ink, or the sound of an LP crackling. These old vintage images and senses that we're drawn into, that's what we tend to think of when we think of heritage or heritage branding. But there are more than one way to leverage heritage branding, and story is a very good way to do that. If you're able to uncover the story of your brand coming together, that origin story, and really align it to who the audience is, and then open that up in great detail using senses and associations to the past, you can earn trust from your customer by simply associating with that sense of tradition and with that sense of history. Now, as you know, heritage brands and heritage branding is all about emotion. It's all about opening up those emotions. If you want to learn more about emotional branding and how you can use it to connect with your audience, then this video will help you out. Until next time, brand like a master, and I'll see you in the next video.